Good morning, RosterWatch Nation. It's your friendly neighborhood trash man. Here to talk about the ongoings in football at large and in fantasy, mostly in fantasy, if I'm being honest, that happened over the weekend, that transpired. Let's go ahead and get started. It sounds like Jets head coach Aaron Glenn wants to shift to a running back committee. We touched on this on Friday. Glenn said that he had 3 backs, and that's readily apparent. He noted that the Jets may be open to trading Breece Hall if Ashton Jeanty is available at 7th overall. I mean, why wouldn't he be available at 7th overall? I mean, some are saying he might be available when the Cowboys draft at 12. I mean, one could only hope. There are a lot of reasonable options, actually, to take at running back in this year's draft. Maybe more, arguably more than years recent. But you know where there are also reasonably good backs to be had for the Jets? Yeah, on the Jets currently. When you already have Breece Hall. You already have Isaiah Davis. You already have Braylon Allen. These are all good backs in their own right. And you've already seen what they can do on an NFL field. Compared to any back in the draft available. I mean, sure, Jeanty it could be a generational talent. It certainly looks like it. But then so is Breece Hall. We were talking the same way about Breece Hall when he came out. And if not for some untimely injury for Hall, we'd still be saying it about Hall. In fact, we still are saying it about Hall. He still could be a great back in the league. Seems like it'd be a waste. I don't know about a waste, but it seems like their draft picks could be better spent elsewhere. The Jets. I mean, even if we're talking about skill players. Tight end, Stone Smart, okay. He looks like he could be all right, but there's some maybe generational tight ends available in this draft. Wide receiver, behind Garrett Wilson, they have some decent options, but they could stand to add Matthew Golden back there. A McMillan, if he wants to play football, wants to really play football. Good morning, Jamie. Yes, would you rather see Breece on the Raiders or stay on Jets? I'd rather him stay on the Jets. This is a promising young team. Raiders, that's kind of where running backs go to die, I feel like, in some respect. I know that the Raiders would lean on him. It's a Pete Carroll offense. They'll run the wheels off of Breece Hall there. Geno Smith anchoring the offense under his wise and tutelage. Jamie adds another interesting fact. Breece is still younger than some of those rookies. It's true. We have some guys who will be 25 when the season starts. He'll still be in his prime after his rookie contract is up. His rookie contract's up after this year. I mean, yeah, it doesn't make sense to me to move on from Hall, the Jets, to take one back who could be a generational talent who has some injury concerns for another who's not a big back. I mean, this isn't necessarily, one of these stalwart, stout running backs who couldn't get injured in the first game of the season. He's an unknown. And you got Braylon Allen back there. And you got Isaiah Davis back there. And you got a slew of other backs if you want to draft them in the draft that you can take much later, who maybe don't have the overall skill set that Genty has, but they have the pieces that you need that the other running backs that you have already on your roster don't have necessarily. If you needed a speed component, if you needed a pass catching component, there are guys that you could take. John in Cedar Park, good to see you. I traded away Breece Hall for Stroud and the 105 and a 1 QB Dynasty League. My only other QB was Goff, and I'm pretty solid running back. What do you think about it? I mean, I do love Stroud. I mean, I know that he had a down sophomore year. A lot of quarterbacks do. But he had a lot of injury at the wide receiver position. They couldn't stay healthy as a unit there. And they still hadn't shored up that offensive line. I mean, I don't know that they have completely yet anyway. I mean, I imagine they'll get more help in the draft. And I imagine the offensive line will be better this season. And I think with a better offensive line and a healthier receiving core, I think Stroud, I think he's a top 5 QB. And with the 105, like I said, they're good running backs that you could get. Jamie adds, I like it. You'll get Stroud and draft Judkins. Exactly. I love Judkins. I mean, the more I look at it, the more he actually might be my favorite back for fantasy purposes out of the top 5. Big bodied, can bulldoze you, but has solid hands, soft hands, can catch passes. I mean, we've seen what Henry has done in Baltimore. And, the Titans slept on Henry's pass catching ability early on in his career. A big back that can hurt you between the tackles and also catch passes. Those are my favorite running backs to have in fantasy. So yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate that trade. But I do hate the Jets trading away Hall to potentially get Genty. Hall's got a lot of football left to play. And they have, like I said, they have other good backs. So it could be a mistake to me. In other football news, we hang our hats. Julio Jones announced his retirement this weekend. 13-year professional career. 914 receptions, 13,703 yards, and 66 touchdowns. 10 years of those 13 with the Falcons. Then 1 year each bouncing around the league with the Titans, Bucks, and Eagles. Career high was 1,871 yards in 2015 in a 16-game season. I mean, he's sure to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's funny, though. I say late, but, the midway point in Jones's career, he was a guy that I was kind of off of in fantasy. And the thing is like after 2018, Julio Jones never scored more than 6 touchdowns. It was like he had a touchdown allergy. 6 in 2019 is all right. But after 2019, never had more than 3 touchdowns in a season. I mean, even when he was a Falcon, I mean, considering how many balls he caught and how many yards he got, he's still, I mean, he's only eclipsed double-digit touchdowns once in his career. That was 2012. Caught 10. Just hit the mark. You know, I always thought that for a receiver of his ilk, that he should have caught more touchdowns. And maybe, I don't know that it's on him. I don't think it's on him necessarily. I think it's probably more on Matt Ryan. That's the guy throwing the ball most of his career. But Jones just wasn't a marquee red zone target, end zone target. And that was always a knock against him for me in fantasy. I mean, you love it from a touchdown dependency standpoint. You know, you don't want a guy with high touchdown dependency. You want a guy who can score points for you in fantasy without scoring touchdowns. You don't want that to be necessary for his production. And for that, Jones is very productive. But you do want a guy, you know, who can score double-digit touchdowns on the reg, if you can help it. If you can help it. You know, it's rare, but Jones is a rare talent. And I almost feel like his talent was squandered there. I mean, Matt Ryan's a good quarterback. Is he a great quarterback? I never thought so. And I do feel like if he was on another team, Julio Jones would have been even better. Even better if he was able to score double-digit touchdowns on the reg. That being considered, Julio Jones, like I said, is a first ballot Hall of Famer. You know, you hate to see him go out like he did. Like Jamie, he hadn't taken a snap since 2023, didn't even play last year. I mean, like, yeah, it seems like he faded into obscurity. His flame faded rather than, you know, was snuffed out. You know, you always want to see a guy go out on top, which wasn't necessarily the case for Jones. It wasn't necessarily the case for a lot of these players, but you know, you want to get that paycheck. You want that generational wealth, that security. You know, so you can't blame him. And he still looks like an athletic specimen. You know, passes the eyeball test, but you know, he lost a step in his last few years. But still a Hall of Famer. You know, was still a first round pick every year that he played up until probably 2020. Eclipsed 1,000 yards in all but 2 seasons before then. You know, there was that 2013 season, only played 5 games. Still went almost 600 yards. But 2 touchdowns. He scored as many touchdowns, you know, in 5 games as he did almost in 4 seasons, his last 4 seasons of his career. Also didn't play a full complement of games in really any of those seasons. Holds the NFL record for career receiving yards per game, 87.9. You know, and that lends to his lack of touchdown dependency. Was able to get you the points without the touchdowns. So love him for that. Moving on, ESPN's Mike Rice believes the Patriots will target a pass-catching running back in this year's draft. Ramondre Stevenson, 154 career receptions. Antonio Gibson, who's still on the roster, 195 catches. That said, Mike Vrabel said that a young runner is potentially something we would like to do when asked about addressing the position in this year's draft. He believes a pass catching back could be the focus, Rice does. You know, a little feather in Josh McDaniels' little cap. You know, it makes sense for the Patriots to add a running back. Ramondre Stevenson was never going to be a long-term answer in New England, at least in our eyes. Alex absolutely hated Ramondre Stevenson coming into the league. Thought he was slow. You know, didn't have, came around on him. But he was never a guy that we loved at RosterWatch. He produced, but it looks like he's already fading. You know, a down year in 2024. Why wouldn't the Pats add a pass catching back in this draft? There's a lot of them. A lot of them to be had. I mean, you got Henderson, Ohio State. Soft hands. 4.38 40. But he can be a 3-down guy. I mean, Omarion Hampton can catch passes. He's another one of these big backs that can catch the ball. You know, he's not the runner that some of these other pass catching backs are. Doesn't have the elusiveness, but he can do it for you. Judkins, already mentioned. Tackle breaker. I think he's a guy that a lot of teams that may not his potential may not be realized in the NFL for a few years, like a Henry. I think a lot of teams are going to take him purely as a runner, north and south guy, and I think that would be a mistake. I mean, there's Jaden Blue, my boy Blue, out of Texas. Hook him. Another smaller back, barely touching 200, but another 4.38 guy. Caught a lot of passes for the Longhorns. A good route runner. Trevor Etienne. Another smallish back, but over 200 pounds. You know, hints of Jahmyr Gibbs. Cam Scatterbo. I mean, we saw what he did against our Longhorns, my Longhorns. Almost took him down single-handedly. He's bigger than you think, 5'10", 215 pounds. And can catch balls. Bashal Tootin. 5'11", a little bit taller than some of those guys. Jamie thinks Patriots should grab him late. I don't disagree. Breaks people's ankles. And then, Brashard Smith, SMU. He was a wideout. 5'10", 194 pounds, 4.39 40. There's a lot of these guys in the draft. He's like a little Tony Pollard. LaQuint Allen out of Syracuse, another bigger back, bigger and a height wise, still only just over 200 pounds. Could bulk up some more, but he's got the frame for it. Great pass blocking. Maybe the best pass blocker of this group. Woody Marks, another bigger one, weight-wise. A little bit slower, but, good contact balance. Pass catching back. So there are options for the Patriots. I feel sad for Antonio Gibson. He was a guy that we really liked. The pre-draft process. And we hoped for him to excel in the NFL. I mean, I guess technically he still could, but it looks like his window is slowly closing. 27 years old. If the Patriots move on in the draft, that's curtains probably for Gibson, at least as a Patriot. Maybe he'll get a shot elsewhere, but maybe yet another promising prospect whose potential went unrealized in the NFL. Well, I mean, we've seen it before. We see it every year. Frozen State Productions. There's talk about Minnesota liking Scatterbo. I don't hate it. I mean, there are hints of Cook in Scatterbo's game. A little ping pong ball bouncing around there, or a bowling ball bouncing around there. Little less finesse of a runner than Cook, but yeah, I could see it. I could see them liking him in Minnesota. I think he'd be a good fit there. I mean, and just every time I look at this running back list, it's hard not to think of this year's running back group as one of the best that I've seen in recent history. You could wait on a running back till late in the draft and come out happy. And, running backs have been so devalued in the NFL and fantasy especially that maybe we'll see a swing. Maybe we'll see a swing in their value in fantasy. You'd love to see it. You'd love to see a handful of LaDainian Thompson-esque players available in fantasy. Love to see more parity between running backs and receivers as far as their value in fantasy. I think there'll be a little evening up of things after this year's draft. Wide receiver group a little bit underwhelming this season. Bring on the running backs, bring on the tight ends. Bring on the tight ends more than anything, really. That's where we have the lull in fantasy right now. Good tight ends, marquee tight ends. But we got a lot of good ones in this year's draft, potentially. We may have some good ones already in the league. The thing is with tight ends, it's hard. Byron's talked about it ad nauseum. It isn't until year 3, really, that tight ends generally come into their own in the NFL, where you see the value. And we've got some young tight ends who are coming into their 3rd year or just had their 3rd year, ready to make an impact in fantasy. You love to see it. ESPN's Kevin Seifert said the Vikings expressed confidence in wide receiver Jalen Naylor as worth a short-term replacement if Jordan Addison is suspended in 2025. I almost forgot about that with Addison. DUI he received last year. Naylor had a 7-catch, 106-yard, 3-touchdown line in nearly 3 full games without Addison last season. Had a career high overall 28 catches, 414 yards, 6 touchdowns in 17 games. That's great for Naylor. Garbage grab guy, potentially. But it's even better for TJ Hawkinson and him having a bounce back. That's who I think gets the boost in the Minnesota offense. And a guy that I think people are probably going to sleep on in drafts, TJ Hawkinson. I'd come back from injury. Had some decent games. It wasn't really amazing in his return. But having a whole offseason since to get better. And if Addison misses any games, is suspended, then that's the guy on the Vikings that I think gets the biggest boost. TJ Hawkinson. That's a guy, tight end, who I'd take a chance on in the barren tight end landscape we have going on right now. But Naylor, yeah, if Addison is to be suspended, and I guess depending on how many games he's suspended, but Naylor could offer some value there at the receiver position. Titans beat writer Jim White reports that the team has canceled its private workout with Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders. He was scheduled to work out with the Titans on April 9th. Had his pro day. The Titans canceled the plans. I think they saw enough. Or they saw more in Cam Ward. It's just another sign that they're going to pick Ward with their first pick. They say they still don't know what they're going to do, but it seems more and more likely that they're going to take Ward with their first pick. Will that start a quarterback run? Run is a relative term. I don't know, but maybe after his pro day, our team's souring on Shedeur Sanders. It looks like the Titans have. I don't know if they soured on him so much as they became more resolute. And Ward is a choice. I think after the Jaden Daniels year, though, the Jaden Daniels rookie year, teams are going to be champing at the bit to add a guy who could be the next Jaden Daniels. So I think Sanders will be fine. And the Browns, as much as they say they're happy with what they have in their quarterback room right now, definitely should take a quarterback in this draft. Speaking of quarterbacks, the Chargers signed quarterback Trey Lance, formerly the Cowboys, to a 1-year, $6.2 million contract. What is he, a running back? It's not a great deal for him. Taylor Heineke is the other quarterback there in LA. And, for all intents and purposes, probably a better option than Lance if Justin Herbert were to go down, perish the thought. But the Trey Lance train seems to be nearing its destination career-wise. I think we may have seen, I think Dallas was the last gasp, the last hope for seeing him start in the NFL. I don't know if it's going to happen for Lance. But hey, he's a multimillionaire. Not a bad way to go out, if that is the case. The Athletic side, Youssef says the Cowboys are still searching for their lead running back for next season. No joke. I never thought that they would settle on Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders as their top two options. I mean, if Jonty is there at number 12, I think the Cowboys take him. They like their splashy picks. But it doesn't seem, if that is where they decide to go, the Cowboys, they have a good poker face. They haven't been drooling over Jonty, which may indicate that they actually are really interested in him. That often seems to be the case. But like I said, there are other good running backs in the draft. I think Jonty makes sense. You got these other guys. You got Williams and Sanders. You can use as bodies, warm bodies, battering rams. Jonty to be their new Tony Pollard. Used in prime situations that he can break off big plays, score points for you. I'd love it if they took him there, but I'd love it if they took a lot of running backs in Dallas. I'd really love it if they took Judkins. I fall more in love with Judkins every day, it seems like, as a fantasy football prospect, as just like a complete package. Hampton's there too. Don't get me wrong. But Judkins, I just don't think we saw the full extent of what Judkins can do when he's at Ohio State, sharing the backfield with Henderson. Help the Cowboys do it. I hope you do it. Whatever it is that you plan on doing today, get it done. And come back tomorrow morning. Come back this afternoon when Alex and Cody wax philosophic about who knows what. We can only guess in our wildest dreams what they'll talk about. But you don't have to guess for long. They'll be here in a few hours at noon Central Time. Anyways, this has been the Trash Man on behalf of RosterWatch.com. Until next time, be ready.
Listen after